Well, I'd like to share a few verses from Psalm 23, verse 4. Miriam's asked me to share a little bit today from this amazing psalm. It's an incredible psalm, isn't it? And like most of us, read it over the years many times. Psalm of David. And verse 4 is the verse I've been given to look at today. So I just want to share a few thoughts with everyone and just see where we'll go from there. I'm reading the old King James Version because it just happens to be the only one I've got in the car at the minute. But verse 4, Psalm 23 says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." Interesting, isn't it, that what's mentioned, thou art with me. And we need to remember, we go through things in life, whether it's physical death, obviously, which is horrible and sad, and we're all aware of how that works, and having lost loved ones, we know the pain of that, and the depth, and the longing, and the loss, and the grief. And yet, if they go and be with Jesus to heaven, the joy that awaits them, it's that dual thing. But for us who are left, it's painful. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just want to concentrate on a couple of things. It says it's a valley, and David the psalmist, who probably wrote this, said, "I walk through." And sometimes we can be in a situation in our lives where without physical death, you can go through all sorts of traumas, griefs, pains, life being life. We all know how it works. A lot of joy, a lot of lovely things, family, friends, memories, great times, and yet there can be tragedies and losses. And I just want to remind anybody out there today, if you're going through any particular deep sadness, alone, often we conceal things, don't we? Even in church life, sometimes we're just so broken and in such a place of pain that, we live with the pain, and often, for whatever reason, we often don't tell people what we're going through. And that's okay to a point. Everybody's different. Some people are very private, some are not. But I'll always recommend talking therapy, whether that's with counsellors, ministers, ministry, church, God obviously, Holy Spirit. So David was saying here, even though I walk through a valley. So I want to just say, some of us today, we've been in the depths of despair. And, the list goes on, doesn't it? It can be many things. Whatever fits for you at this moment in time, just go with that. But he walked through the valley. We don't have to camp. We don't have to stay in that valley. And it says in verse 4, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." It wasn't death itself. It was the shadow of death. "Thou art with me." Easy said on a nice sunny day in the middle of July. But David knew God was with him in this situation. That's important for us, whether we feel He's there or not. Because feelings are a very powerful thing, aren't they? I know me, myself, I'm I'm a sensitive person. Quite emotional. I wouldn't say I'm dictated by feelings, but they certainly can sway us and throw us around at times. You know, we can read scriptures all day long and still feel terrible. That's fine. God knows that. But David said, you are with me. And he also said, I will fear no evil. Powerful stuff. David was proclaiming positive proclamation there. I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. He knew God was with him. But it's still not pleasant, and some of us in the situation in which we find ourselves now, with the world as it is, it has changed. God hasn't changed. The kingdom hasn't changed. He's amazing. And, you know, God has the last word. But, you know, the situation we're all in right now with this lockdown, masks, vaccines, a lot of fear knocking about, isolation, so on and so forth. It can be overwhelming for some of us. Very, very overwhelming. And I know in this last 3 or 4 months, there's times where I've hit depths of pain, sorrow, loss. God in his wisdom has decided to bring certain things up in my life from childhood, wounds and pains and stuff like that. This isn't the place to go into that, but yeah, there's times where I've thought, wow, this is bleak, this is deep pain. Yeah, you know, it's not all happy, is it? The Christian life, let's be honest. It's not all misery either, and woe is me. But it's not all a sunny day in California and blue skies everywhere. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. What a proclamation. Thou art with me. And whatever you're going through today, just speak those words out. Thou art with me, God. Whether I feel like it or not, whether my emotions are screaming at me or not, where is God? What's happening? Why doesn't he show up? Why didn't you answer that prayer? Why did this person die? Why, you know, we can go on and on. And David also said, thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. What's that about then? Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. See, one is for correction and one is for comfort. Often I'm married to a farmer's daughter, Wendy, and often when a sheep is going astray, you'll see the old farmer with the stick and the hook on its neck, and he pulls, you know, often if he has to, he'll crook it around the neck and pull it back, you know. And that's what David's talking about here. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. How can a rod and a staff comfort anybody? But when these things are in the hand of God, and sometimes we need that in our lives, we drift, we get disappointed, we wonder, where are you, God? You know, the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and, you know, shops are shut, this is shut, the economy's smashed, so on and so forth. And God, if he has to, with us, he'll use that rod and that staff. One is for comfort and the other is for correction. But yeah, remember, and I'm going to finish with this, I don't want to take too long, but do remember, if you're going through a deep place of loss, pain, inner healing, God brings stuff up in our lives, and it's not always nice. And yeah, I would say go with the program. Don't run from the pain. Walk through your valley. If you're going through, or you feel like you're going through, figuratively speaking or literally speaking, a kind of death, you know, it can be death to many things. Some of us are moving up in years, never been married. Some people who are desperate for children couldn't have children. That can be a form of you've got to let that go and lay it down. It can be like a death, you know. But remember Psalm 23 verse 4. Thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And David said, or the psalmist who wrote this, said, though I walk through the valley. You know, you're going to go through seasons in your life, places in your life, types of years, you know, as a Christian. Some are going to be good, you know, it's not all honeymoon. I want to be very real and authentic with you. I've been saved 32 years coming up in September, and it's been a fantastic journey. Very, very good. Really, really pleasant. But also in the last couple of years, there's been lots of pain, lots of feeling bereft. Never doubted my faith, never doubted or accused God once. But there's been pain. As God has put his finger on areas in my life and your life too, let him heal you. Let him bring up things. You know, seek counselling. I'm going through some stuff at the minute which is profoundly deep, way beyond my thinking. But what do we do? Do we ignore it? Do we pretend it's not there? Or do we walk through that valley and come out the other side? That's the good news, isn't it? We come out the other side. So listen, Vineyard family, dig deep, plough on, press on, be active, pray, seek God. If there's one thing I've learned in this season, over the last 4 or 5 months in particular, let God go deep. Invite the Holy Spirit to do what he wants to do in your life. And where we need to weep those tears and that pain to come forth, it's a beautiful thing, a healing, inner healing. I mean, you can live with it, you can stuff it down. I think that's what I did. Many of us do, for whatever reason. But God in his wisdom and in his love knows how to get us through to the next stage. So, finishing off, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Hope these few words have been encouraging to you, from Psalm 23 verse 4. A beautiful psalm. And being a bit of an evangelist, you know, it's taken a lot of discipline to not wander. But I'll finish with this. There's only one word missing from Psalm 23, and it's at the very, very start of Psalm 23, and it's this. If or when the Lord is my shepherd. Because it starts, doesn't it? Just finishing off, it starts with, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But I always like to just interject at the beginning of Psalm 23. Always read it in future with these words. When or if. Okay, I hope that's been a blessing to you. God bless. Bye-bye.